They talked to me.
Yeah,
They said, don't give up this land. And the same thing that Al Bedouin said, don't give up the land to the Egyptians.
Let Norman finish. Because he listened to you.
Just stick to the facts.
Norman did let you speak and then responded afterwards. Afford him the same courtesy.
You got it.
So, at the point where, according to the other speaker, the people of Gaza were begging the Israelis to stay, according to the head of the National Security Council at the time, Giora Eiland, and this is March 2004, he described Gaza as, quote, a huge concentration camp. So I find it a little bit far-fetched to believe
read one Israeli? Because
that
the inmates.
Please don't interrupt.
Have you read anybody else? Like
Ishai,
one guy. That's the guy. That's the guy
let him finish.
Over and over again.
Please let him finish.
Sorry. Sure.
So I find it a little bit far-fetched that the inmates of a concentration camp would be begging for the guards to stay in the camp. That to me is an unusual. It's an unusual scenario. Now, this talk about the people, Israelis reestablishing illegal settlements in the illegally occupied Gaza Strip, that to me, there is a problem there. I was reading an interview yesterday with an expert on the subject. Israel has deposited, as of now, there are about 37 million tons of destruction, about 37 million tons in Gaza right now, which means it would take, according to this expert, it would take about 10 years to clear the rubble in Gaza before you can even
we will clean it up, Norm, don't worry. We're going to clean up Gaza because we want it. It's beautiful. We're going to make it beautiful again.
Okay.
Make Gaza beautiful again. That's the slogan.
Now,
don't worry about it. We'll take care of
it. Thank you very much. You'll probably ask
it's not for
the
you. It's for us. It's
international
not for you.
community.
We live here. This is
the
for us.
International community. Yeah. Well, actually, on the subject of living there, I did spend quite a lot of time between 1987 and 1993 in Al Khalil, which is sometimes called Hebron, and it's again rather far-fetched to believe.
4,000 years.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's Al Khalil.
It's okay. Go ahead. Al Khalil is the Arabic name for it. It came about 1,400 years ago. It's been Hebron for 4,000 years. Jews have been living there for 3,700 years.
You see, you have a problem, sir. The problem is you want to discard what the international community has to say in the subject. Under
I don't have a problem.
law,
I am very, very plugged in. There's many people in the international community that are with us. If it's Geert Wilders in Amsterdam, if it's President Trump who recognized the legality of Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria, certainly in Hebron, we've been there for 3,500 years. I think somewhere in international law they could figure out our rights in this ancestral city.
Right. Under international law, the whole of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza, are occupied Palestinian territories. So under international law,
it's our ancestral land,
or I should say, under
there, and nothing is going to stop us.
Under the International Criminal Court Rome statutes, sir, you're a war criminal because you are illegally settling in occupied Palestinian territory. You should be prosecuted under international law as a war criminal.
Well, many people disagree with that. Many legal scholars disagree with that. That is not the law. That is not the law. That's the law according to... As Benny Morris said about you, Finkelstein is a notorious distorter of facts and of my work, not a serious or honest historian, right? It's on your Wikipedia page. So do me a favor. You're not going to tell me exactly what the law is. You're not even a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. And it happens to be that we have every right to live in our ancestral homeland. We won that land in defense of wars, which is an international law principle. We purchased the land, which is the simplest principle of free markets. We bought it from Arabs. The three religions all recognize the Jewish people as living in this land. If it's the Quran, the Christian New Testament, the Torah, they all recognize this is from this land.
But what nobody, Ishai, if I may jump in, what people are not accepting are the continuing attempts by Israelis to expand the settlements. Almost nobody I speak to thinks that is anything but a deeply inflammatory thing to be doing.
Can I remind you again, Piers? Piers, this is this little white thing.
You don't need to, because when I went, okay, listen, let me explain.
Ancestral
Hang
land,
on,
Piers.
let me explain. When I went to Jerusalem about 12 years ago and interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu in Jerusalem, he showed me a very similar map that was hanging behind his desk, and he put his thumb on Israel and he put his hand on all the much larger Arab countries. I get it, but what it doesn't show is the reality that Israel is the most powerful country in that region in terms of its military, and certainly in terms of its support from the United States. So this idea that it's a tiny, impoverished little part of land is a mischaracterization. But my question to you again, Isha, is this.
Piers, it's not a mischaracterization.
How does it help?
I never said impoverished.
Hang on, let me finish.
I never said that.
Let me ask you the question again.
Go ahead.
Which is, how do you justify the expansion of settlements, given that almost nobody I've spoken to on this show thinks that this is anything but inflammatory?
Oh my gosh, Piers, for God's sakes. First thing, I never said the word impoverished. We're a powerful little country, great. But look what happens when we drop our guard for 1 minute. They cream us. Let's be real about what happened. We got creamed. And now we're fighting a war to fix that wrong that happened. Okay, that's number one. Number two is Judea and Samaria, the West Bank so-called, is the heartland of the Jewish people. It's where we're from. Our whole DNA, everything, our language is based on these places. We're from these places. This was called the Jewish state 2,500 years ago by the Persian Empire. It's called Yehud Medinta, der Judenstaat, the Jewish state. This is the heart of our land. Yes, Israel has not formally annexed Judea and Samaria, but it holds on to it as territories. There's 500,000 Jews, so-called settlers like myself, who proudly live in the ancestral homeland. This is where we're from. This is where we're going to stay. Nothing is going to get us out. And no amount of international law mumbo-jumbo, no amount of academic gobbledygook is going to get rid of simple, plain history. And many people, including the Trump administration, recognized our rights. So we're talking about big America. You've said to me now on the show 3 times, you said to me, America's against this war. There's many Americas. Right now, it's a Biden America. Tomorrow, it might be a Trump America. A Trump America recognizes our right. So we're going to be patient, as we have been for 3,000 years. We're going to be strong, continue to build our third Commonwealth, which is celebrating 76 years of independence today. Mazel tov, we say. And we're going to keep going. So don't give me this stuff about that we're not going to live in Hebron. Hebron is where we're from. Our forefathers and mothers are buried there. That's where we're going.
Before I go to Norman for a response to that, do you believe then that a natural extension of your logic is that you should also be entitled to the whole of Gaza going forward? Is that your belief? That actually, that is all, do you believe that is all Israeli land?
Absolutely. Piers.
Okay, well,
I was one of the people.
Okay, but then...
Wait, let me finish. You asked a big question.
That's a massive question.
You asked a big question. It needs a real answer. Yeah. That's right. And it's a fair question. You're right. And the answer is simple. 2005 disengagement was an awful mistake. We should control that land and govern it. Again, it's a tiny piece of our tiny land. And, of course, pro-Israel, non-jihadist Arabs and others, Palestinians, Muslims, whatever they want to be, that don't hate Israel should live there and be successful there.
But what right? Sorry, I'm sorry, but listen,
Jews live in Arab
Ishai, what right does Israel have to just take over Gaza, having obliterated it?
Yes, we're not taking it over. There was never a Palestine there.
Listen,
no.
You can defend yourself against a terror attack.
There's never...
This surely is exactly the kind of occupation that Norman was talking about, only on a massively bigger scale. You're unashamed about it. You want to occupy Gaza.
You're not talking today to one of the liberal Jews. You're not talking to a government spokesman.
Clearly.
You're talking to one of the settlers. Right. I am talking to you about what we think is right. What we think makes sense also in terms of how to manage this region.
But the problem is, Ishai,
if you give up your land to the jihad, they attack you.
Yes, but the problem is you are sounding genocidal in the sense that you want to get rid of...
What?
Well, you want to
genocidal. Did you not hear me say... Piers, I respect you tremendously, so don't put silly words in my mouth.
Okay.
Really, truthfully, I watch you, and I love your work, and you open things up for a lot of people. Don't say silly things. That was very silly. I never said anything about genocide. Holding on to a piece of land, holding on to minorities, Every power in this world has minorities inside of it. Every country that's a big country has other minorities, other peoples inside of it. Did I say we should genocide the Arabs? We have a fight with the jihad. I said, and it's on tape, I hope you play it, I said that minorities that are non-jihadists, that are pro-Israel, are going to be successful in this land.
Yes, but
I want them to be successful, just like the Druze and the Cherkessim and the
I would
Arameans.
simply ask you,
genocide.
What
Where
right,
would you even get that?
Ishai, what right does Israel have to occupy Gaza after this? I don't think you have that right.
It is our historic homeland. Look it up in Wikipedia. You'll see what is the Jewish story in this place. It was ours 3,000 years ago. It was ours 2,000 years ago. Herod built whole cities in Gaza. One of the most ancient mosques in Gaza was before that.
Let me go
the ancient
to
synagogue. It's our ancestral land.
Let me go to Norman. Norman, you've been waiting patiently. So your response to this, where